Hey guys, in this video I'll be reviewing the top 3 at the 2024 Mr. Olympia to see if the placings were justified or if there were any robberies. If you didn't know, Derek Lunsford placed 3rd at his first title defense, with Hadi placing 2nd and Samson taking home his first Sandow. It's pretty interesting now that the entire top 3 will consist of 3 Olympia champions, which might be the most Mr. Olympias that we've ever seen share the stage. And don't forget about Brandon Curry. If he returned next year, there would be 4. Anyways, I'll be scoring this with a point-based system, giving first place 1 point, second place 2 points, and third place 3 points when scoring each pose. The lesser points, the better, with the lowest scorer winning the competition. Do you guys think that the Olympia was fair this year, or do you feel as though someone was robbed? Let me know in the comments down below, and let's break it down. Alright, the first pose, the front double, is a nice pose for all 3 to begin with. When I see these 3, my eyes immediately go towards Samson, since his taller stature and clear size advantage almost dwarf the other 2. He honestly looks twice as big as Hadi and Derek in the arms, legs, and even in areas like the calves or the forearms, which goes to show you the true size disparity. Now, Hadi and Derek may be considerably smaller, however, they look just as aesthetic in my opinion. You know, Derek has the most pleasing torso heap out of the 3, having that small waist and those bulbous lats. However, I think he loses against Hadi and Samson in the quads because they aren't big enough, and in the arms because they don't have the separation. I'd have him in dead last actually in this pose, since he gets smoked in the frontal condition by Hadi, and in pure size by Samson. Between Hadi and Samson, I think that it's almost crystal clear that Samson demolishes Hadi in the limb size and the overall structure. You know, while Hadi is super dense and ultra conditioned, he looks very compact and stout next to an imposing, super aesthetic Samson. Personally, the only area I see, Hadi winning in would be the arm separation and the lats relative to his frame, since his arms and legs are so stubby and he's getting outmassed in a lot of places. For this reason, I would go with Samson, since he strikes a great balance of condition, size, and aesthetics. The front lat spread is a closer pose between Samson and Hadi at first glance, however, Derek would be in a distant 3rd right away. This is because his lats are presented the worst, his quads look the most undersized relative to his upper body, and he still has that kind of soft look that he had last year. Now, his quads do look maybe a little bit more separated than last year, and his chest does look a bit better. However, compare that to Hadi and Samson, who both have better presented lats, thicker legs, and more imposing upper bodies, and it becomes certain that Derek is pretty much trailing behind. I will say that Hadi and Derek appear to be closer than Hadi and Samson after a second look, since Hadi actually has a serious imbalance between his left and right outer quad sweep. This alone throws off his symmetry tremendously, and honestly, I don't think he has the thickness to beat Samson upstairs anyway. I think this pose is a decisive win for the big man Samson, since he is twice as thick in the arms, chest, delts, and legs, has that solid conditioning now, and still looks very aesthetic. The side chest is where Derek can finally try to make up some ground, since I believe he actually outdid Hadi this year convincingly. Look, he might not have the same chest striations or razor-sharp details in the midsection. However, his upper body separation has improved considerably, and he dwarfs Hadi in the side leg, arm, and even in the chest now. I feel as though last year he was also outmassing Hadi in this pose. However, this year he combined that size with slightly better detail, to the point where I feel like he pulls ahead slightly. Don't get me wrong, Hadi looks great, however, he looks flatter in the chest and side leg, and really only brings that midsection and crazy conditioning detail. Both Samson and Derek have the thickness to really display a dense side chest pose, whereas Hadi doesn't have that same sting. Now, I think we all know that Samson is taking home a win in this pose, there's no doubt about it, since he's doing what Derek did to Hadi. He absolutely smashes Derek in the side leg, has an ultra full and developed chest, and even his midsection appears tighter and more defined. I would like to see more detail in his chest and delt, however, the sheer size disparity alone really does it for me, and therefore I would give this one to Samson. The rear double is probably the only pose where Derek decisively pulls ahead of anyone else, since he really has the best back when it comes to the separation and overall development. That said, I don't feel as though he looked as impressive as he did last year, but maybe that's because Samson and Hadi brought up their backs as well, and the competition has just become better. Now, he definitely has the most shredded glutes and a great back, however, he loses the hamstrings and arms to both Samson and Hadi. He really doesn't flex those hamstrings that hard, which would elevate the pose if he did so. In second, I would go with Samson since his back looks nearly as good as Derek's and easily overpowers Hadi's. I think that Hadi came in a bit undersized, to be honest, and that lacking outer quad sweep is also visible on his pushed back leg. Now, he normally looks incredibly dense and well developed. However, here he looks a bit shallow in the back and even underwhelming. He is in better condition than Samson overall, especially in the glutes. However, Samson actually has a bit more separation in the back, comparable definition in the hamstrings, and tons more size, so that's the reason why I would have Samson beating Hadi. The rear lat spread is a pose in which I think Hadi actually edges out Derek in since he showcases better hamstring separation, a back that matches the width of Samson's on a smaller frame, and some ridiculous density. While he did look a bit off in the last pose, having a bit of, maybe water in the back, I think that he's wider than Derek now and has a more 3D look to the traps and lower back, and just looks thicker in the legs as well. Now, between Derek and Samson, I'd surprisingly go with Derek. This may be controversial, however, I feel as though Samson has a bit of work to do in this shot. He doesn't flex his glutes in the same way as he did in the last pose, which makes them lose any of that separation that he had, and his positioning of the arms leaves extremely wide gaps between his forearms and lats, and this makes him appear narrower than others and leaves his lower half looking considerably behind. I could see the argument for him beating Derek based on the lower body size and superior traps and lower back. However, Derek looks drier and slightly more detailed and isn't getting outsized by a lot in the back. Do let me know though, who do you have winning in this shot? Fortunately for the new Olympia champion, Samson easily takes this pose, regaining his prior dominance. Just look at how beautiful his lines are and how he effortlessly flows into the pose. The massive chest and delt go into that crazy tricep and small controlled waist, and then into that huge side leg and trailing calf. I think that this variation suits his physique the best, and he smokes the other two in the size and presentation. He also brought the condition, which closed the gap even further in that aspect. Now, Hadi and Derek are complete opposites of each other in this pose, with Hadi having that incredibly tight and defined midsection and ridiculous condition, while Derek looks massive and super thick. Although it's clear that Hadi gets outsized in the arms and side leg, I think his presentation alone deserves second over Derek. I really dislike Derek's spilled over waist and midsection area, softer chest and arm, and almost top-heavy look, whereas Hadi is super balanced and posed to perfection. Derek really does look like a blob of muscle in this shot, and he could have taken second to Samson or even won if he posed just a little bit better. The ab and thigh was a shot that Derek was heavily criticized for last year since he never hit the crunched down shot and opted for a vacuum every time. This year, I don't think I saw him hit a vacuum once, whereas Samson on the right is hitting one right now. For the sake of fairness, here's another look at the ab and thigh where they are all hitting the crunched down ab shot. In this pose, I would say that Hadi easily wins, no questions needed. His midsection is exactly what you would want to see. Perfect ab symmetry, maxed out oblique and serratus development, and a separation carved straight out of stone. His quads, while slightly asymmetrical, still have condition and mass to match that picture-perfect midsection, and to top it all off, his V-taper is pretty good as well. Now, both Samson and Derek are rather mediocre in this shot, with neither having the best midsections. Samson does have the better structure and probably the best one in the shot. However, his abs are the worst and his V-taper might be as well. I like his quads and stature though, and it's hard to pick a guy like Derek who lacks the quads and is so much shorter. Derek does have the great lats and a tiny waist, however his quads really do look undersized. They definitely have the separation and solid development, however next to Samson his legs look small. I'd probably have to go with Samson over Derek here since Samson has more balance and decent enough abs to get the job done, while Derek really only has that waist and V-taper. The last pose, the most muscular, is a very impressive shot for all three to end off on. However, I see a clear, distinct winner. I'd definitely give this pose to Samson, which is crazy because I would normally go with Hadi. This is because Samson is peaked to perfection, bringing that trademark size and fullness with newfound condition, evident within the arm, quad, and chest separation. Now, Hadi looks good, don't get me wrong, however, he looks incredibly small in the arms, chest, and delts compared to Samson. I love his cross striations in the chest, perfect midsection, and grainy condition. However, Samson's size and condition combo are too much in my opinion. As for Derek, his crab shot got a whole lot better this year, with his arms and delts looking really full and separated. However, his chest still lacks any notable striations. Because of that, I'd put him in third, since he has no standout attributes and looks rather underwhelming. Alright guys, that's a wrap for the 2024 Mr. Olympia. In summary, I had Samson winning with 12 points, Hadi in second with 16, and Derek in third with 20. In general, I think that this Olympia was close but ended with a decisive win for Samson. I don't think that Hadi or Derek were robbed of a placing, since Hadi looked a bit small and flat while Derek was underconditioned and a bit awkward in certain areas. Now, Samson was just better, I guess. He just so happened to be the best one on this day, and he won his first Olympia. I don't think that this was a dominating win, since he did not pull ahead like crazy in every shot like Ronnie Coleman or Phil Heath. However, saying he didn't deserve it is plain wrong in my opinion. Anyways, let me know down below, what did you think of this year's Olympia? And if you agree with the results, just let me know as well. If you enjoyed, a like and sub would be awesome, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.